It's really fantastic. I think what a wonderful theme, innovation and corporate social responsibility. Because it is really without doubt that the many American companies that have set up shop here, so to speak, have really woven themselves into the fabric of Irish society on so many different levels. Thank you. And as we all know, good business is good for society, and equally good society is good for business. Now, last month, Business in the Community published what's becoming for us an annual survey on attitudes to responsible business here in Ireland. And so this morning I just want to take a few minutes, 8 left, to share with you some of the results, the top line results of that survey. But just before I get into it, many of you in the room know Business in the Community very well. And in fact, most of you here are actually members of our network. But for those of you who don't, Business in the Community is a non-profit organisation. We're set up since 2000. And we were set up to promote responsible business practices across Ireland. That's some of our network. We're working with some of the leading companies that are conducting business in Ireland. I suppose we consider ourselves the network for responsible business. So if you're not on the list yet, or if you haven't planned to be yet, you can make it your first resolution for the new year, and we will look forward to working with you in 2012. So back to the survey. It was conducted on our behalf by Amorach Research. It was a telephone survey and it took place between the 6th and 19th of September last. Conversations lasted 15 to 20 minutes and they took place between MDs and CEOs of 100 organisations drawn from the top 1,000 companies in Ireland. So just to set a little bit of context, firstly for responsible business, understanding that all companies have a certain amount of legal and statutory obligations to comply with as part of their business. For the purpose of this research, we asked business leaders to focus really on the wider responsibilities that companies may feel they have across all of their business operations. So be it to their employees, the environment, suppliers and sustainable supply chain, to customers or other stakeholders. And secondly, in terms of an economic context, well, we're each one of us all only too well aware of the R word. And in these current challenging economic times, business practices are under far more scrutiny than pre-recession. Questions on intent and integrity are now to the forefront, and doing the right thing is becoming a core business value. So if we consider in very simple terms the role that irresponsibility played in bringing us into recession, then really a very different approach will be required to lead us out of recession and ensure our recovery. So at Business in the Community, we like to think of a responsible recovery, where the way a business makes its money is just as important as how profitable that business is. A way of doing business that meets the needs of the present without compromising the environmental, social and human needs of the future. A way of doing business that actively engages stakeholders and that demands transparency and accountability. But there's probably no surprise there because that's the type of thing that we would say. But what about the CEOs that were surveyed? Well, thankfully, this view is corroborated by the results of the survey. The very clear message that came out was that doing business responsibly can no longer be merely about financial performance and statutory compliance. Instead, there's a new understanding of what a responsible business does and how it should be managed. That understanding recognises a wider mandate for business and a wider set of responsibilities that go with it. Responsibility for the employees they depend on, the environment from which they draw their resources, the communities in which you operate, and the marketplaces that you participate in. And overwhelmingly, 9 out of 10 of the CEOs surveyed feel that these responsibilities are personally important to them, which is great news because it means that our responsible recovery will be led from the top. And CEOs state that the long-term growth and sustainability is the key driver to promoting and engaging in responsible business practices. Our experience in business and the community is that responsible business, it isn't an optional extra. It's not something nice to do, but it's rather now becoming an imperative, and practices are being embedded as business as usual. And the good news is that making that effort towards responsible business pays off. And 6 in 10 business leaders agree that their performance in relation to wider responsibilities gives them a direct competitive advantage. But taking the decision to strategize based on responsibility is the easy part. Actually delivering is harder, and there is no one right way to operate a responsible business. Those we surveyed have adopted a diverse range of strategic approaches to meeting their wider responsibilities. Over a third of companies prioritise the environment or environmental initiatives. A quarter focus on community connections, and the third highest priority stated was staff welfare or well-being. And of course, during the course of this morning, we're going to hear from a range of companies on the diverse nature of your own CR programmes. So just as there's many approaches a company can take, there are equally as many challenges to developing a responsible business strategy. 2/3 of the business leaders feel that the pressure of their day-to-day activities is a barrier to being a responsible business. 6 in 10 say a lack of buy-in from others across the organisation, so be it staff, management or at board level, is also a barrier. And half of the CEOs surveyed cite cost of becoming more responsible as a factor. So despite the benefits identified from responsible business, it doesn't always follow that everyone in an organisation would be immediately on board. And one of the greatest tasks facing Irish leaders will be to communicate the clear benefits of their strategy and to align all the resources in their organisation in order to achieve real impact. So to look ahead, 7 in 10 business leaders expect that the way we run business in the future will change as a result of the recession for many different reasons. But they all agree that there is no going back to the way business was practiced in the past. So this notion brings with it a real opportunity for Ireland to lead the world by aiming to become a world centre of excellence for responsible business practices. And to support this aspiration, Business in the Community was very proud to launch the Business Working Responsibly mark earlier this year. The mark is the only certification for responsible and sustainable business practices in Ireland. And on October 13th last, we were delighted to present the first 4 companies to be certified with their awards: Microsoft Ireland, Intel Ireland, CRH Ireland and ESB. The mark is centred on a comprehensive qualitative question set that allows participating companies to assess a robust range of business risks and opportunities. And business risks are, business practices across 5 categories are measured, namely workplace, community, marketplace, environment and governance and communications of CR. And to learn more about the mark, you can visit our website, bitc.ie. There's a short video there, so you can hear about our rationale for developing, but also the companies that have been certified, what they plan to do with it. So just to close, so I know I'm flashing there, in conclusion, it is wonderful to have the opportunity to address a room full of CSR champions. At Business in the Community, we've been pushing the responsible business agenda for the last 11 years. We've been there when it was CSR, CR, sustainable business, responsible business, CSI, back to CSR. And we've seen the understanding shift away from checkbook charities to really strategic and impactful community involvement programmes. We're rejoicing at companies and how they're embracing their sustainable supply chain management. But in short, there really is a feeling that now is the time for responsible business, for CSR to really make its mark. So as I'm preaching to the converted in this room, my call to action this morning is to let's work together to rebuild Ireland's reputation as a great place to do business. Let's make the ideal of Ireland as a centre of excellence for responsible business a reality. And let me just add one more New Year's resolution for you. Join great companies like Microsoft and Intel and apply for the Business Working Responsibly mark for 2012. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the morning.